everyone. Welcome back to the AP Government Skills webinar presented by the Bill of Rights Institute. We're so happy to have you here to help you prepare for the upcoming AP Government Politics test, whether you're taking the paper or the digital versions. These webinars are specifically designed to help you with the skills required for the tests. So today's webinar, we're going to be looking at Unit 4 skills. I am your BRI host, Liz Evans. I'm the Regional Programs Manager here at BRI, and I taught AP Gov, so I'm going to be monitoring the chat and answering as many questions as I can. Again, with me for episode number 9 is teacher extraordinaire John Burkowski Jr., or JB, from the Academy for Advanced Academics in Miami, Florida. So I'm going to hand it over to you, JB.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, BRI. Good evening, everyone. It is episode 9er. Woo, we're almost there. So I got to ask you a question. Do you believe? Are you a believer? Right? Believe in what, JB? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What do you believe? And that's what we have tonight. Unit 4, American Political Ideologies and Beliefs, is the unit that deals with how people think politically, their political values, their political ideologies, in the sense like where do they lean on issues, whether liberal or conservative, or if we want to get even deeper, libertarian. This is what Unit 4 focuses on, and we're going to focus on the skills that help to incorporate those concepts from Unit 4 so that you can do awesome on the AP Government exam. Let's do it. All right, recap, quick recap. The exam, all right, paper or digital, it will follow the traditional format, the normal format of multiple choice right in the beginning, 55 questions in 80 minutes, half of your score, FRQs right after, with 4 of them. All right, you have 100 minutes, concept application, quantitative analysis, Scotus comparison, and the argument essay. For those taking the digital exam, same format. There are some differences and some recent differences. Let's talk about that. All right. I always tell you when it comes to multiple choice, pick the best answer every question. This goes double for the digital exam. There is no skip and return. This is the biggest difference between the paper exam and digital exam for AP Government. And no skip and return applies to all AP exams, by the way, for the digital exam. And no skip and return even with FRQs. Be mindful of this. So make sure you answer every question in the multiple choice, write something, choose something, because, hey, do the math, play the odds. You choose something, you choose an answer, but JB, what if it's wrong? I go, look, you choose an option, you have a 25% chance of getting the point. If you leave it blank, you have a 100% for sure chance not getting the point. So do the math, play the odds. There you go. Now, the FRQ, again, no skip and return on this. There's what the platform would look like. You should be able to have access to a digital app, so you can look at some of the questions and get an idea of the platform. But here's another difference that they just revised earlier this month on the Scotus FRQ. I just want to make sure that everybody gets this because this is a big revision. Scotus FRQ Part A. Scotus FRQ Part A has been tweaked and reworded just a bit, whereas in the paper exam, it's identify, that's the task, to identify the constitutional clause common between the non-required case in the scenario with the required case that College Board provides you, is now describe. The task now is to describe the way it's worded. It's just reworded. I'm just going to put it that way. They give you the non-required case, but they also you have to determine the constitutional clause with a required case of your choosing from the 15 required cases that will be listed. That will be listed on the left side of your digital exam platform under the scenario and the prompts. Yes, you get to choose. So it's best that you read over the question itself, the whole prompt A, B, and C on the digital exam, so you choose the most appropriate Supreme Court case from the required 15. So it's of your choosing, but it's of those 15. So there you go. And there's some examples of responses between the paper and the digital exam, so you can best prepare. The multiple choice, these are the types. We've seen this quantitative analysis. We're actually going to be focusing more on quantitative analysis tonight. Unit 4 deals a lot with measuring and determining, figure out and evaluating public opinion, and trying to figure out beliefs and where people stand on issues. So that takes a lot of research, polling. So definitely quantitative analysis is going to be a big part of our night tonight. Text-based analysis, visual source analysis, and individual multiple choice questions. We're going to see a little bit of everything. Tonight is unit 4, so 10 to 15% of the exam weight. So the relatively smallest of the 4 units. I'm sorry, 5 units. I'm in that AP zone. I don't know I don't know math anymore. So yeah, it's the smallest, but usually a lot of teachers and classes tend to incorporate them in the other units, especially with unit 5 political participation. There's going to be some overlap, by the way. Okay, resources. Make sure you access it. Make sure that. All right, JP, what's the most efficient way to review content, skills? Go to the Bibles. Go to the Bibles, the 2 Bibles of AP US Government. The CED, the course and exam description. You click on that link, take you right to the CED, go through each topic in each unit. That will give you a basic rundown of what College Board expects you to know and understand. All right, let's see. And then the Constitution. Hey, that's the Bible of any American government course. Got to know the Constitution, got to know the structure, the breakdown, the powers, the limit, you name it. Make sure you got the United States Constitution for AP government. All right. The foundational documents. Recall that there are required foundational documents for you to at least know and understand the main ideas. Most of them, being Federalist Papers, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, to name a few. You click on these links, that'll take you right to what the CED list, how they categorize it. I have my page, and the Bill of Rights Institute has great resources on not just being able to determine main ideas of these primary sources, but some activities, exercises to really master the understanding of those documents. The required Supreme Court cases. Yes, the CED will of course make the list for you. They'll also categorize it. There's some links here to video reviews to get more of the facts of the case, which is very important when it comes to the SCOTUS FRQ, facts of the cases. I have my page, and also we created a link here, the required 15 SCOTA cases with each clause and CED topic that is related to them. You're welcome. And of course, the Bill of Rights Institute has wonderful resources available in regards to those Supreme Court cases. As I say every episode, an angel of a government teacher has went through the CED, broke down all the specific content, and put it on a nice little document for us to access. Here it is. Let's check it out. Let's check it out, because I wanna make sure that we get to look. This is what we got. Unit 4. Look at all the other units. Look at all that. Look at it. But then you get to unit 4, and we're like, oh, why can't the AP exam just be about unit 4? Don't we all wish? Okay, so there you go. These are the terms that you must know, must understand, perhaps need to define or describe, multiple choice, apply it in your writing and on the FRQs. There it is. That's what you definitely need to know for this particular unit. We're going to tackle some of that. So if you have any questions, you can about any of these to best understand them, chime in. But let's keep moving on. All right. The skills. So understand that these episodes focus primarily on the skills, how to best approach and apply the content. We're going to, you see the practices we're going to look at. We're actually going to look at a concept application sample tonight, focused on unit 4. You won't really see SCOTUS application necessarily in this part. Maybe perhaps how people feel about a Supreme Court decision. Yeah, public opinion on a Supreme Court decision, or a case that is being argued in the Supreme Court, but not really on the SCOTUS application, especially on the FRQ. Oh yeah, practice 3, data analysis. yes, definitely. So I hope you like math, and if you don't, stick around. Just stick with us. All right, we'll do this together. All right, look at the source analysis for sure. All right, And argumentation, meh. All right, really, data analysis is probably the most commonly used practice that we'll be applying tonight for Unit 4. But also source analysis and concept application are other great ways to apply the skills to Unit 4. Okay. Reasoning process. So definition classification, definitely we're going to describe and define some specifics. We're going to look through the process, somewhat causation, and comparison probably is going to be one of our common processes of tonight, especially comparing ideologies, comparing beliefs, comparing polls, legitimacy and evaluating polls. Say what is a legit poll, what is push poll. Okay, we'll talk about that. So I would say tonight really on definition, classification, and comparison would be our most commonly used processes for Unit 4. The task verbs. This is always important. You click that link there where it says by FRQ. It'll associate which task goes with primarily with what FRQ. Like I said, tonight, really a lot of define, describe, and compare. Yes, explain is always. Explain is the key to success. Oh, I should say one of the keys to success. Explain, all right? The how, the why. Draw a conclusion. We probably could do that tonight, especially with quantitative analysis. Draw a conclusion is that specific task verb is exclusive when it comes to the FRQs, to the quantitative analysis. So yeah, identify another one, very simple task, but explain as always is the key to success. The how and the why. AC FRQ, real quick, when it comes to the FRQs, how to best develop your responses that you can, increase the chances of earning that point. ACE, identify that claim, make that answer, cite where you describe the relevant characteristics of the claim, and then E, this is the juicy part, close the loop. How or why does your claim and the relevant characteristics that you described about this claim, how does it answer that question? And that's not just on basic FRQs like FRQ 1, 2, and 3, but also in the argument of essay. These are your body paragraphs. Your body paragraphs, when it uses evidence and using reasoning to support, to use that evidence to support your thesis, ace it. Ace it. That's the key to success. The why and the how. As I've always mentioned in my class, my kids are geniuses. And I ask them who, what, when, where, right? What are the two major political parties? Pick me, I know this, JP, pick me, I know them. All right, cool. What are they? Democratic and Republican parties. Yes, those are the two major parties in the American political system. How did they develop their positions on their particular platforms, on these particular public policy issues? How, all right, would they vote on particular bills? How would a president from either whatever party, whichever party, the Democratic or Republican Party, how would they issue an executive order in relation to a public policy issue? Why? Why would they vote in a certain way? Why would they introduce this particular public policy legislation? Why? Why? Based on what it's doing, what it's empowering, what it's limiting, what it's granting. Why? And that's when they revert back into their shell. Don't want me to call them. Do the face in the palm thing where they're hiding, not that they're frustrated, but that they're hiding. It's like, that's of course when I really do call on them. But again, this is the key to say. Why and how is the explain. This is what's going to help you understand political and government concepts and what's going to help you earn those points on the exam. I'm introducing a word of the day. A word of the day for today, for Unit 4. Trends. What's trending? What's the data say? What is the data trending? Right? Where would a particular person of a certain ideology or of a certain party or if they're heavily influenced by some cultural factor, political factor, social factor, anything, where would they lean toward? What would they typically go? Trend. And here's the thing about trends. when you look at data, when you evaluate data, when you analyze data, when you apply data, you want to not think in absolute terms. Data tends to ebb and flow. There's increases, decreases, and it up and down. And so, but what's the consistency on that? Like, as the data as we're flowing, is it consistently, is it trending toward an increase? Or is it trending toward decrease? Is there a trend of separation? Trend. Don't think in absolutes, because even in public opinion, in political beliefs, there are what we call cleavages, in the sense that whereas somebody from a particular identity or influenced by a particular factor of socialization, like family and school and friends and where they live and where they were born and where they're coming from, that all of those factors. But then what about the overlap, right? That they were born here, but they're of this age and they're from this ethnicity, and there's overlap. And that's what we call cleavages. So that's where trends comes in. So think about this. This is the word of the day, trend. Okay. All right. Here we go. We're diving in. All right. Topic 4.1, the American attitudes about government and politics. This is a fancy way of saying what are the core values of the American political system, of American political society. What you see on the left there is what College Board expects you to know and understand. Now, granted, there are other values out there, not just limited to this, of course. Right? You can bring up civic virtue as a political value in our American society, but these are the expected. These are the expected values that College Board says, hey, when it comes to a question, say on a multiple choice or an FRQ, we expect you to at least have some idea of what American individualism is, of what the rule of law is, of what equality of opportunity is, free enterprise, limited government, and the role of government and the people, and of course, I know. Yeah, individualism, probably one of the most fundamental values in the American political society. The individual, that they are endowed with these inalienable rights, they have these natural rights, life, liberty, property, the individual's opinion, the individual's worth, the individual's value, their dreams, they matter. They matter in our society, in American political society, and that they should be able to achieve those dreams, achieve those goals, that their opinions matter because why? They vote. Their vote matters. Their vote is their voice in the American political system. That individual vote, that individual freedom of expression, when they write a letter to a Congress member, when they protest in a march on the streets in regards to a particular social issue, their voice matters and it should be listened to. And yes, could the individual be having to negotiate with interest groups? And should they be concerned with, well, why does my voice matter more than anybody else's? This is the republic. This is where we get into common good and civic virtue and civic duty, where the individual, yes, matters, but the individual also has a responsibility to their neighbor, to their community, to their society, to their institutions. And so when they think, right, when they believe, those are factors that may affect their choice, all right, may affect their voice and what they ultimately decide. And so that's something that we have to consider, and that's when you evaluate. You got to throw in those factors, right? Rule of law. Rule of law. This is a nation. This is a republic of laws. Well, what does that mean, JP? The Constitution grants powers to the federal government, grants powers to the states, right? Grants these guarantees of freedoms to the people. But it also has limits. It also has limits of the government. There are limits to the people. There's only so many things we can do. There is a line drawn in the sand of, yes, you have these particular freedoms. You have these forms of expression that can be extremely broad. But there is a line in the sand sometimes. There is a barrier. There's a time when the government or even when society says, stop, wait, hold on, too far. All right, rule of law. We have to have law because this is where we can start having that debate. Here we go. Right, this is where the skills come in. Right, we can understand what the rule of law is, but we also have to understand there is individual liberties and then there is law and order. There is safety and security. And that, of course, is a constant debate throughout our history, throughout the American political system, and even a debate where do particular political parties stand on this? Where do particular groups of people? And this is where we start getting into those factors that affect your decisions, your voice, your values. Yeah, where would you stand? Right? Where would you stand on these particular issues, and what factors affected your stance on that particular position? Equality of opportunity. The idea that does everybody have a fair shake? Does everybody have a fair chance? That the law, the government, state is going to treat every citizen at an equal level. They're going to be given an equal opportunity. That there won't be this sense of favoritism for a particular group or categorization of people, and this is who gets the privileges and here's who don't. Equality of opportunity economically, socially, politically, right? Where's the big debate on this? The debate is, do we have equal opportunity or do we have equal results? And that's where you start getting into the socialism and communism aspects, where some will start taking it. Well, there's also equity issues, but there's also debates on policies to address issues from the past, those social and political inequities and economic inequities from the past that have affected those today. And equality of opportunity, that's one big debate. So that's something that you have to consider when it talks about, well, where do people stand ideologically, where do people stand politically in relation to partisanship and political party. Free enterprise. Private property is incorporated into this. It's one of the fundamental rights. This is an economic, primarily an economic issue. You can work, you can do whatever you want, right? You can pursue whatever field, right, that you want. You can set up a business, and it doesn't, the state's not going to tell you, no, you're supposed to be a farmer, not a factory worker. No, you're supposed to be a teacher, not a doctor. Want to be a doctor? Go ahead. The opportunity is there. Go for it. You want to set up a business selling spoons? Good luck. All right. Hey, sometimes it works for people. You can do that. You can do that. And the government's not going to stand in your way and say, like, no. What's going to determine whether you should be producing and selling spoons? The free market. The free market. Good old supply and demand. Good old supply and demand. Yes, consumers, producers, that relationship, that's where free enterprise is. Take your chances in the free market. Now, can the government chime in? Well, most people would agree that the government can step in and say, we're going to protect the free market. We're going to make sure that all Americans, the country is going to preserve and protect and guarantee your equality of opportunity, but also your free enterprise. Now, could the government regulate? Yeah, now what's the degree of that government intervention in the economy? Again, we go back to the debate. Where do you stand? Where do you stand on that ideologically? Where do you stand on that politically? Limited government. Again, I kind of associate similarly with the rule of law. Limited government. Hey, federal government, know your role. Relax, right? Chill out. There's only so much you can do. Now, can the government be like, we're going to take a broad interpretation of this particular power? Ooh, right? Ooh, that necessary and proper clause. Oh, I am going to read into that one. Right? The commerce clause. Oh yeah. Right? Or where the Supreme Court says, like, hey, you know what? Freedom of speech, maybe not so much. Ooh, what are the parameters now? All right. What's the yeah. And then of course the role of government and the people kind of overlaps with all of this. Where the government's role is where you can start getting into, say, social welfare programs. It's an example. The idea that does the federal government, should it be more involved? Should it intervene in regards to safety nets and addressing issues like poverty? or intervening to a degree to stimulate the economy in regards to economic, fiscal, monetary policies, but also the role of government in policing it, right? The police power of the states, and of course, the federal government in guaranteeing those freedoms per the Bill of Rights. But where's the ceiling, right? Where are the barriers? Where does the Supreme Court, where does the president, where does the Congress say this is as far as you go on that? Right? Okay. So you can see that we just pretty much identified, described, but then we also explained in the sense of, where does this stand ideologically? Where does it stand politically? Where are those big debates? Okay. 4.2, political socialization. Is expected that you be able to define this term, this idea of political socialization, describe it. All right. These are the factors that pretty much will determine, influence your political beliefs. Why do you believe what you believe? And I love this because I'm talking to an audience that probably is still trying to figure out what they believe politically. And if some of you already like, no, I already know, JP, I'm way ahead of you, be like, good for you. How he's going to change over time. But yes, so it's I love the irony, but here we go. This is how people pretty much determine where they stand. This, as you read this, I hope that when you read it, you're like, oh, so that's why I kind of feel this way, or I believe this way, or my parents stand on the issues, or my friends stand on the issues. I can see why. You can see how they got to this point, where they stand. And of course, if you've ever changed, you can probably understand. Oh, okay. So you can see that's what College Board says. Those are the big factors. Family is always first. Family is always the biggest. Family is always probably the most significant, influential factor on political beliefs. Family, particularly your parents, right? Schools is next, right? Your education, okay? The degree of your education, the level of your education, where you go to school, how you're educated. That is also, again, because remember at schools, this is where you start to expand your socializing in the sense of beyond the dinner table with your parents and your siblings. Now you're with other people from the neighborhood. Perhaps you're in schools where there's a very diverse population coming from different parts of the county, from the district. Heck, there's some at my school. I remember there were times when I had students from abroad, from other countries. Incorporated. And of course, when you get to the university level, right, when you go to college, that's where more diverse. This is where more opinions start coming in, from professors, from your peers in your classes, the groups that you may engage in for projects at the university level, or heck, even at the secondary level. Yeah, your peers, your friends, your colleagues at work, any acquaintances. That's another influential factor. And of course, the media, watch on television, what particular news network or political or news network that you watch, you might not even watch that much news. That could also be a factor in how you believe. And of course, social environments, what political organizations you're involved in, the degree of your religious beliefs and your religious involvement. Say, are you often go to church? Do you not really go to church, but do you still have particular religious beliefs, right? Do you not have any religious beliefs? That all can be influential in the factor. So let's check this out. Let's take an opportunity to try a question. So here's a sample multiple choice question that we have here. And just to give you an idea, we always like expectations. Which of the following scenarios best reflects the process of political socialization? Which of the following scenarios best reflects the process of political socialization? Right? So in this particular case, they're really focusing on the skill of describe. Describe is really what we're looking at. So we have an individual takes a civics course in school and develops opinions about politics. That seems legit. An individual takes a civics course in school, right? Develops opinions about politics. Isn't that what socialization is? Developing opinions about politics. Let's look at B. Members of Congress increasingly vote the same way as other members of their party. I think that might be a model of representation. That might be how Congress members vote. There may be some political concerns there, but is that political socialization? Kind of veering away from what the question's asking. A group is able to attract new members by offering access to a broad network of people. JB, social environments, organizations, peers, perhaps, or track new members could be a goal of an interest group. Maybe how interest group, but is this again political socialization? All right, remember, we're looking for the best answer here. As media choices increase, media, individuals expand their media consumption to new sources. Now we see that media is a factor here, but is the answer choice best reflecting the process of political socialization? In the sense of, are we looking at media, or are we looking at this group attracting new members, right, leading to developing opinions about politics? If you haven't decided already, A is our best answer because it best reflects the process here. It best describes that. School, socialization, process of developing opinions about politics. There we go. All right. Yeah, that could be the type of question you get. And there you go. Okay. Scenario. They always like that. All right. Political socialization. Okay. Round 2. All right. We're looking at data. No, JV, math. No, math. So let's look at here. Question. We hear a lot of talk these days about liberals and conservatives. I'm going to show you a 7-point scale on which political views that people might hold are ranged from extremely liberal, 0.1, to extremely conservative, 0.7. Where would you place yourself on this scale? 0.4, not shown on scale. All right. This is how the question is worded. So my political values are, all right, so liberal, points 1 through 3. Remember, that's where they're going with it. That's what they choose. And then over here, conservatives, the higher points, 0.5 through 7, 5 through 7. All right, so quantitative analysis is going to ask you to pretty much describe what's happening on these graphs and describe trends and patterns in the graphs. But sometimes it's as easy as, all right, the graph above supports which of the following statements. Okay. So we'll notice that by income, less than $5,000, 30% liberal, 29%, 5,000, 9,000, 30%, 29. So now we see that 10,000, 34% conservative. You notice the pattern here, 30, 30, 26, 25 for liberal, 30, 26. As we keep going through, as we increase the income, right? We look at these households that are increasing income. The rates here are kind of consistent, except for, I would say, the one little blip there would be the lower the income, a little bit the highest, right? And then it just keeps lowering and lowering and lowering and lowering and lowering, right? You see 30 to 26, 25. See trends, right? It's trending as a decrease. And you go over here, conservative. It's like, 29%, 29%, 34%, 28, 29, 33, 35, 37, 35, 41, 51. It's trending as an increase. The more and more income, the more and more conservative. But JP, it was 34% at 10,000, 12,499, but then it dropped. So, I was like, again, consistency here. Trend, always consider. Word of the day, trend. It is trending as an increase, right? It is becoming increasingly conservative. More and more money is earned, right? Well, let's see. All right, we're looking at this like the graph above supports which of the following statements? People with higher incomes are more likely to think of themselves as conservative than those with lower income. Well, let's just see. Higher income, 51% conservative, about a 5 to 7 points there. And then as they lower, it's trending. There it is. JB, really? Is that what? That it can be easy with these quantitative analysis questions? Yes. But you see, once we started looking at the trends, answer A is right there. That's exactly what is being described here. That's the pattern. So there you go. We're good. So when you go through these quantitative analysis stimuli, notice the trends. Right? All right? Consistency. Okay. 4.3, changes in ideology. These are factors like, all right, what could happen along the way, right? As you get older, this is really what it's focusing. As you get older, could your ideology change? Yeah, they can. The trend is, yes, those that are younger tend to be more liberal in their thinking, but as they get older, as they assume more responsibilities, as they, what responsibilities? A career, a family, right? That, all right? That, it's like, oh, maybe I got to start making some different types of decisions. Maybe I got to start revamping my thinking here, my opinions, my values, right? This is what they call life cycle. Life cycle is like, what are you typically doing in your teens, right? Still in school, still trying to figure out your identity, right? What's happening in your 20s? This is where you're going to college. This is where you're figuring out your majors, or figuring out where you want to go career-wise, right? And then in your 30s is probably where you've established your career. Perhaps you've already you're getting married, or you're starting to think about a family, maybe established a family already. 40s is where you're set, right? You're pretty much set, but now it's like, now I have to take care of my children. I'm established, and I'm starting to establish myself in my ways and my beliefs, especially now that I have mortgage and I have children that I'm trying to save for college. You see how it's happening? I just bought a new car, but I'm financed. That's the thing. You start, in the 50s, and you start thinking about, all right, what am I going to do? When do I retire? What about retirement? As you keep getting, see what I mean? That's the life cycle. Then there's generational. Generational is like the baby boomers, or Gen X, the millennials, now Gen Z, right? So what are the particular factors and issues that dominate, that influence these generations? What situations did they go through? What did they experience? What's their thinking? How were they raised in general? And so those are also factors in how people think in their ideologies. One generation could be more liberal than a previous or subsequent generation. Right? There could have been some historical events. There could have been some pattern that society assumed, whatever the case may be. So let's look at this quick right here. This quantitative analysis stimuli. We have age and U.S. House vote from 2008 to 2018. Age and U.S. House vote. The House directly elected by the people initially. Then on here we said, Democratic share of two-party House vote. Democratic Party share of two-party House vote. So the green with the little circles, that's the 18 to 39 age group of House members. The little square is 40 to 49. The little diamond yellow is 50 to 64, and the yellow triangle 65 and up. Notice Democratic share of two-party House vote. It is very high, all right, among the younger crowd. Right, the Democratic Party, if we're looking at the House and we're looking at the Democratic Party and the House vote, a good portion of that comes from 1839, right? Between 18, so very young. So the Democratic Party has a pretty high young component to it, younger representatives. Not so much elderly in the sense of 65 and up, but it's kind of trending high. JP, what does this matter? So you see some trending higher, right? Recently, in the recent years, it's trending higher. Why? Again, here we go, skills, right? Why? Explain why. What could potentially be responsible for the trending upward? Is it that the Democratic Party is assuming more positions that the young people tend to think liberally? Are they assuming that? Are they saying like, yeah, let's go with where the young people are? Are we trying to attract new blood? Yeah, let's get them into the House, perhaps, right? But JB, what about the other, like the 65 and up? Is like, could this be attributed to, say, incumbency effect? All right, could that be the case here with the Democratic Party? Still got these baby boomers that are still very popular, entrenched in their positions, probably assumed leadership positions by now and know the system. Maybe that's the case here, right? Maybe the Democratic Party is becoming a little bit more diverse and spanning here, because it's much more younger. You see, jumps way up high and between 2016 and 2018. So, right. Other things to consider when you evaluate these quantitative analysis: 2008, 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018. Don't those look like election years? They're even years. Don't they look like elections? And 2008, it's a presidential and a congressional election, but 2010, 2014, 2018, these are midterm elections. Incorporate those factors into them. So as you're processing this, right, you're like, ah, get it. Now I'm starting to understand. There you go. Okay. Topic 4.4, influence of political events on ideology. So this would be, what would influence? This could affect generation, right? The generational cycle, more so than the life cycle. Sometimes public opinion drastically changes because of a major historical event. For example, Pearl Harbor, 1941. That was a big deal, right? We could say that perhaps the second Red Scare in the 1950s, Vietnam in the 1960s, primarily, right? Watergate in the 1970s. We could even bring up stagflation and energy crises during the 1970s, right? In the 1980s, it could be, Reagan's administration, but that was extremely popular. The Cold War ended in the 1980s. In the 1990s, it's the internet, right? 9/11 in 2001, right? Hurricane Katrina, 2005, the Great Recession, 2007, 2008, Barack Obama's election in 2008, go on and on and on, right? And those can affect political values and political beliefs. So history helps. History helps. I know AP government doesn't really say like you gotta incorporate all this history, but it's good to kind of understand those major events and how it could have affected generational values and generational beliefs, that generational cycle, and of course where people stand on particular issues. Think about this. Look at this chart here. Public trust in government. I love to hit this in my APUCH classes, especially when we come after World War II. 1958 to 2010. People who say they trust government just about always or most of the time. Look at this, 1958. Wow. And yeah, that before the late 20th century, Americans pretty much looked at government like, I like you. You know what? You're not too bad. I think you're good. Yeah, you do what's right. You know what, government? You government, right? But then what happened? What happened? What's with the steep decline here, the big drop off? Starting right there, peaks, right? 1960 something. Woo, what happened? But again, I think I've already answered this question. Could it be Vietnam? The lie of the Gulf of Tonkin resolution? Watergate? You see, that really probably contributed to it. Gerald Ford giving a blanket pardon to Nixon in response to Watergate. Okay, and you see, maybe the stagflation, the economy's not doing so great. There's inflation, there's unemployment. What do we do with ourselves? But look at the 80s. Ooh, it's going up. Oh, that's awesome. And then there's like a little bit like, hey, what happened here? But and then it just drops in the 90s. What happened? Is there partisan politics? What's going on? Clinton's impeachment is in the 90s. Then it boosts up, but why? What's going on? Ooh, look at this. Wow. Could this be because of 9/11? Something you want to consider is that when the nation is attacked, say like in Pearl Harbor or at 9/11, the country tends to get behind the commander-in-chief, right? They get behind the president and say, we're behind you, we're with you, get the job done, take care of the enemy, keep us safe, right? Boost our confidence back up. Yeah. But then look, it drops again. What happened? What could have happened? Could it have been the Iraq War, the invasion in 2003? Could it have been the response to Hurricane Katrina? Could it have been the Great Recession and the response to that? Yeah. You can see how those political events could affect voting, how they could affect beliefs, and of course, measuring confidence in the government. Okay. Speaking of measuring public opinion. Ooh, the math. All right. Type of poll, you need to know opinion polls, benchmark or tracking polls, entrance and exit polls. Make sure you know that. Sampling techniques. Review that. Types and formats of questions. You see which of the following best describes an exit poll. Look at that. That's an actual question. It's an actual exit poll. So they expect you to be able to describe an exit poll. Poll that asks voters at randomly selected voting places whom they voted for so that election results can be predicted more quickly. That's it. That's exactly what an exit poll is. A person votes, they come out of the precinct, and there's somebody from the media or from a polling group, a pollster, and they're asking, who did you vote for? You don't necessarily have to answer, but they take those responses and that helps them figure out, we're calling this state this candidate. We're calling this state blue for this particular candidate. All right, we're calling this race because based on the exit polling numbers, in addition to how this trend is, there it is. And so be able to understand how those polls work and what those polls are. Okay, evaluating public opinion data. Evaluating public opinion data. This is gonna be fun. Let's do this real quick. Let's look at the GOP, Grand Old Party or Republican Party, listening to America poll. Let's take a quick ganders at this. All right. What I want to do is evaluate the questions. All right. Is it legit? Are we going to get some legitimate responses? Is it being legitimately asked? I'm just going to kind of look over. I just want to give you an idea. All right. What state you live in? How would you rate the current direction of our economy? Great, good, fair, bad. Okay. Do you feel your elected representative fights for the issues you care about? Yes, no. All right. Are your taxes too high? Yes or no? Okay. Are the questions starting to be a little leading? Is safety enough for your plan a big concern for you? Where are we going with this? Is being able to get a job a struggle for you or your community? Do you feel your job is threatened by unfair trade deals? Oh, unfair, huh? Do you think legal immigration should be reduced until unemployment drops? Where are we connecting this? Where's the agenda here? Have excessive government regulations, rules, and red tape burdened you personally? And so we're also doing this because we also need to know the political ideologies of our parties, where they stand on issues. So these polls. Let's look at this one. This is a Democratic survey from 2018. What should Democrats' top priority be? Let's look at this list. Jobs and the economy, climate change, gun violence prevention, campaign finance reform, Social Security and Medicare, women's rights, immigration reform. I don't know, I guess we can see there's some there like, all right, general topics, but maybe some that are kind of leaning somewhere. What are you most worried about with a Trump president and Republican Congress? Who are they trying to ask? Would this be a poll, a legit poll to give to a general population? And that we could properly, legitimately evaluate the data that comes from this poll. Look at this: Obamacare repeal, Medicare overhaul, Muslim registry, Roe v. Wade appeal, LGBT cruelty, right? A far right supreme, bigotry. These are worded in a particular way that could trigger, right? It's leaning toward it. And so could we, whatever the data is, right? They present this data from the DCCC, right? And the GOP here. But what about Pew Research? Now, Pew Research, that's legit. Gallup poll, they're legit. Look how, if you click on this, you can try to kind of get an idea of how they ask the question. Would it provide a legitimate evaluation of their data? Could we trust their data? You don't necessarily